Uzama, he'll be limited today. George we're giving him his Wednesday. He's dealing with his knee, but it's not concerning. Just give him an extra day to recover. Jordan Whitehead's going to be limited today, dealing with a calf. JFM won't participate in practice today. He's dealing with his toe and quad. Not concerning, just giving him another day to recover. And then Quinton Williams dealing with his foot, he'll be limited, and Zach's knee, he'll be limited.
Is Uzama still picking up the game time?
Yeah, same thing. Same thing as last week. He feels a lot better this week, but so we'll see.
With Zach, is there a chance he could do a little 11-on-11, or is he mostly limited this week?
He's still limited. Not going to get into the 11-on-11 stuff this week, but we're going to ramp up the amount of strain, I guess you could say, from an individual standpoint.
Will you do something with him like you did last year, kind of practice squad, scout team stuff, or not yet?
We'll see once the doctor clears him for full activity.
What do you take from last year's Bengals game?
What I take from it?
Yeah.
We were coming off that beatdown from New England. I remember that, and I thought our guys had, just showed resolve in the way they answered the bell, especially against a hot team. Cincinnati's extremely talented, and it was a fun game. The guys fought for 60 minutes, and it was a memorable game, but obviously a game that's in the past. So.
Obviously, that has nothing to do with this, but every game, cliche, every game in the NFL, you're going to get an opponent test. But do you expect a much difference in that they're kind of fighting for their lives at home too?
No, I look at the Cincinnati team and I get narrative outside it. I see a team that's still playing their tails off, a team that brings it every day. I see a team that turned the ball over 5 times and didn't take it away in week 1, and we're still lining up for a game-winning field goal in overtime, which was blocked. So they've been on the wrong side of luck. This team they're still the AFC champs in my mind. They still look like the AFC champs. They're still playing at a very high level, and we fully expect them to be exactly what we're seeing on tape, which is a really good football team.
It seems like both weeks there were some miscommunications in the secondary that kind of led to a touchdown each week. Is that something that you're concerned about, or is it something that?
No, it'll iron out. A lot of new faces back there, 4 new starters, and so it's. But when you have miscommunication in the back end, that's touchdowns. It's different than when the D-line miscommunicates; it gets to the linebackers. So we've got to be a better job. We've got to do a better job, obviously, but not something I'm concerned about.
How would you assess your pass rush so far?
It's got to be better. We all think that it's got to be better. Obviously, the first week fully understood was the fact that we were playing Lamar. This week, and I'm not making excuses for the guys, but just presented us with a different challenge with how much they run the ball, play action pass, max pro, all the different things that they were doing. But when we get our opportunities for one-on-ones, we've got to win, and we've got to keep the quarterback in the pocket, and we've got to play, and we've got to be able to rush as a unit. And it hasn't been bad. I'm not saying that. You just want more. And I'm D-line driven. Everyone knows that. And just so, like I've said before, to much given, to whom much is given, much is required. And so just expecting a little bit more out of that group.
And now this week you're facing a quarterback who's being sacked at a record pace right now. So is this an opportunity?
You know what? It's no different. I mean, you anticipate them stepping up, and they've been hearing the other side of it, right? Their O-line, and they're as individuals they're playing pretty well, just as a unit, just gelling together, and the timing and rhythm from the quarterback and all that stuff. So I'd anticipate them coming in and maybe doing something different, but it's no different. I don't care if they've given up 13 or none. We just expect a lot out of our D-line, and just want them to play to the best of their ability and show up and win their one-on-ones and see where it goes from there.
Robert, along those same lines, what have you seen from Carl?
Carl?
Yeah, the first 2.
He had a half a sack on Sunday. There's a couple of rushes I'm sure he wants back. He's getting good movement, good pressure, and all that stuff. He's doing a good job in the run game. Coming back from Achilles injuries, he's warming back up, and he still looks good to me. And I know that there's another gear in there for him, and as soon as it's coming, and just he hasn't. He's gonna be fine. So he's all his power, all that stuff is there. It's just getting all his timing back and all that.
Robert, with all the youth you have on offense, how important has Flacco's just kind of steadiness been for this team, particularly the other day, the final minutes there?
Yeah, it is. Today we went over, just fourth quarter, right? First play of the fourth quarter, and how the great team sees the fourth quarter opportunities and win, and teams that always on the other side of losing, always look back at the fourth quarter and God, we missed these ops. And if you go through that sequence of the fourth quarter, early in the fourth quarter, we had the holding penalty that negated that big run from Michael. We had a drop on third down. Defensively, we just didn't get off the field on a couple of third downs, had a couple of missed assignments. Offensively, just couldn't get the chains moving when the defense got the ball back a couple of times. And so we lucked into a last opportunity, which doesn't usually happen. And credit to the offense and credit to our guys, seize that moment. The trick is going to be, can we find a way to seize those moments earlier in the football game so we don't have to rely on the back end of it? And that's where, getting back to your question, Joe, he is a calming force. He's getting the ball where it needs to go, and even to expect more from himself, to almost elevate in what he expects out of himself and from his group. And hopefully it trickles down to the entire team where we're just making plays in the fourth quarter and not having to rely on an end game situation.
What have you seen from the running game so far? It seems like you've been having success with it, but you just haven't been able to do it a whole lot considering like you've been down.
Yeah, the Brees and Michael and the O-line, they're doing a really nice job running the football and moving people, creating lanes, and there's still a lot of yards to be had too when you watch a tape and just from a running standpoint. And but you hit the nail on the head. We need to put ourselves in more opportunities to run the ball, and it's part of the way the game's kind of shaken out towards the end. But if we can give ourselves a chance to run the ball for 4 quarters, we feel like it'd be pretty darn good.
With Brees, what is the next step in his development? Like, what else do you need to see from him? It seems like he improved from week 1 to week 2.
He is. He's improving. There's a style to NFL running in terms of getting vertical, and Brees he has got all the speed in the world, and he's a very, very good runner, as everyone's saying. And now it's just a matter of sticking his foot in the ground, getting vertical, and trusting that in the NFL, if you keep going sideways, your defense is thanking you. Where in college, he was able to outrun everybody. Different world here, and I think he's learning that. He had a couple of really good NFL runs against Baltimore, a couple of really good NFL runs in Cleveland, and now can he make every run a good NFL run? And he's getting a lot better. He's going to be a really good player for a long time.
Robert, are you committed to Zach starting as soon as he's healthy, or if you guys can keep winning and Joe keeps playing well, is there a scenario where he stays the starter?
No, Zach's the future of the organization. We all know that, and so as soon as the doctors clear him, we'll get him on the field.
I have a big picture NFL question for you. The stat is there's been 8 teams, obviously you guys are one of them, who have come back from 10 points or more down to win a game this year, which is the most since 1987. Is it harder, maybe you've had this conversation among your coaching friends, is it harder now to close out games in the NFL than it's ever been before, and why do you think that might be?
From a defensive standpoint,
From a team.
The quarterbacks are so much better. I mean, they're when I played high school, it was wing tee. You might throw the ball 2 times, throw a pop pass to me once in a while, but you weren't lining up and spread and just chucking it all over like they do now. And then you get to college, and so by the time they get to the NFL, the pool of quarterbacks is much deeper. The skill guys are much better, so it is harder in that regard. But it's no excuse. You still got to get it done. Felt good about us. We had the opportunity to go close in those 22 seconds, and Ashton got that interception. But it's hard, especially when I've talked about it. You get to the fourth quarter, especially the good quarterbacks, like Joe, for example. I do think Joe's a really good quarterback. He's seen everything. Right, fourth quarter, the game plan's already been revealed. They know how they're playing everything, and so when we got that onside kick, it was just he knew exactly where he needed to go to the ball because he already knew what was going to happen, and the great ones can see that. So in those fourth quarters, when you have a good quarterback who's armed with all the knowledge he needs, that's hard. So.
Were you upset with the penalties?
Yeah, you get frustrated. I think the refs they do a great job. I mean, it's hard. That playbook is, their rule book is pretty extensive. I don't know how they can memorize all of it, and so it gets frustrating on the field. But I empathize in terms of how hard it is for them. But it gets frustrating because we talk about do right longer for our players, and so don't leave it up to them to throw a flag. Just get your hat to where it needs to be. Like I'll just use the George Fant play. Can argue that it was ticky-tack. Just gave him a little tug, which you can argue was happening all day on both sides, and that particular play gets called. But for George, just get your hat play side, and win with technique. Don't leave it up to them to throw a flag and negate a big play. So
One that wasn't disputable though, Marcel. That could have been a really costly penalty.
yeah, you want your guys playing as hard as he does. I mean, the guy's absolutely relentless, but you got to be smart. And so he's. I promise you, he wants that play back, and he knows better. I think that was our. I mean, we're not a cheap team, and he's not a cheap kid. He got caught in the moment. So
one more on the penalties. The most of them were in the second half. Just talked about learning how to win. How important is it to not have them piling up in the second half like they did the other day?
That's everything. That's the whole thing I'm talking about in terms of we're 2 straight weeks. We're playing really good football in the first half. We're toe-to-toe with really good football teams. We get in the second half, and then it becomes when the moment gets bigger, you need to get bigger, and you need to rise with that moment. And so that means executing to the best of your ability, no self-inflicted wounds, and let's see what happens. And so that's where we've got to learn now. We were able to dodge a bullet because we had the opportunity at the end, and and everything happened the way it did. But at the same time, try to learn. Let's keep the main thing, and learn from what could have happened. And you could see where just throughout penalties, missed assignments, drop balls, that's where our youth has to take another step, and our stars need to take another step in terms of we have these ops. Let's go win a football game.
I think everyone understands that Zach is the future of the organization, but wouldn't there be a little wiggle room for a 37-year-old vet? He's got a hot hand.
Well, no, it's like I don't want to be a broken record, but I'll be happy to answer that question a million times over when Zach is healthy and ready to go. But Zach is the future of the team. So,
Robert, you had to prepare for him last year. Now again, the challenges that Jamar Chase presents.
He's an animal. He's got tremendous body control. He's got tremendous strength. He's got great feel to sit in zones. He's one of the better receivers in football, and the thing about that whole team is that you got 2 more in there with when you count the other receivers and then throw in Mixon, and Hurst is a good tight end, but they got a really, really good football team, probably arguably the best skill group in all of football, and so they're a problem, and you could see it on tape. They've just been on the wrong end of luck, so we're fully expecting the AFC champs to walk in here and try to do what they've been doing, and that's try to get a W.
Take up more?
Braden Mann got a lot of flack in week 1 after that 20-yard punt. How cool is it for him to see him go out and have the game he had and win AFC special teams?
No, it was awesome. Like I said, I'm not to make excuses for Braden. He was dealing with a back in that first game, and as the game kicked off, as it started, and he fought through, got himself right, and rested, rehabbed the heck out of it, kicked for the first time on Friday, and had the game he had was awesome. Had the throw too. That was pretty cool.
Were you able to practice the fake punt last week, Robert, with him dealing with the back?
You know what? They're off to the side throwing, and I don't know what those guys do. They're as Brand. They're like 100. I don't even know where they go after when the team's going. I wanted to have, it was 2 minutes, and I wanted to have a field goal thing, and I looked and like 4 fields down. I was like, forget it. So.
Everybody good? Okay.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Robert.